Next, I would like to talk about how to customize the plot axes. We have this potential and current versus time plot, and of course we can rescale and reposition the current trace to be somewhere where it fits in the plot, like between the two potential traces. But as soon as we close this plot and reopen it, the axis will be reset. So to fix this, we have to edit the plot, and at the bottom of the plot dialog, we have these buttons to edit each axis. So for the right y-axis, we have several different options. We can edit the title. At the moment, it has those magic strings. %qi is the quantity and %us is the unit. When we click the right arrow, we also get some suggestions for other options to name the axis, but we can also type something ourselves. We can also change the text color. Perhaps I want it to be orange to match the trace of the current. We can also change the ticks as well as the scale. So in this case, we don't want it to be automatically scaled, but we want to specify the limits of the axis. Perhaps it should be between -1 and 1. And I also don't want ticks all over the axis. So I will disable automatic tick placement, and I will specify that I want them at -0.2, 0, and +0.2. So let's see how that looks. Now that's a lot better, and when we close this plot and reopen it, it will still have those limits. Of course, I can still zoom and so on, and now when I click Reset Axis in the top right, it will reset to those values that we specified, whereas if I click Auto Scale, it will scale to fill the whole plot. In fact, when I double-click, it will cycle between those two options. Of course, we can also edit the other axes. So maybe for the x-axis, I want some grid lines, and for the y-axis as well. And maybe I want it to have some fixed number of decimal points, maybe 3 decimals. And if you mouse over this text box for the tick format, it will tell you how you can specify that format. So let's see how that looks. Now we have 3 decimal points everywhere for the y-axis, and we have some grid lines. Perhaps seconds is not the best unit to use for the time in this case. Maybe we want it in hours instead. In that case, you have to go to the original data series, and we have to actually change the unit of that data series. So to do this, you can either right-click on this data series or select it and go to Data and Edit and select Change Unit, or you can just press Ctrl-U. Then we can specify hours, and it will ask you if it should recalculate the values. Choose yes, and now the unit is instead in hours, as we can see. And if you go to the plot, now this plot has the x-axis in hours. Next, to demonstrate some more features, I have this impedance spectrum, and I will plot this. Maybe change the size of the data points, and in this Nyquist plot, we have some issues. So usually the imaginary component is plotted with a reverse scale to put the data points in the first quadrant in most cases. And we should also have equal axis plotting. So in this case, I can rescale the axes independently of each other. And this makes it very difficult to judge whether this feature is an ideal semicircle and what slope this line has and so on. So to fix this, we should go to Edit Plot and edit the y-axis. Here we can first of all choose a reversed scale, and we can also choose to link it to the x-axis. So now the y-axis will be linked to the x-axis with a scale ratio of 1. It means that the two axes will be equal. Now we see that we have the reversed y-axis, and when I try to rescale either of the axes, both of them are rescaled. So we have equal spacing, and this makes it a lot easier to judge what is going on in this plot. There are also some built-in presets that you can use, so you don't always have to make these edits every time you make a Nyquist plot. If we go back to the original data, under Applications, you have some battery applications, some cyclic voltammetry, and also impedance. This will be the topics of future videos, but for now we can just select Nyquist plot And then we already get the reversed axis and also the equal spacing. This can then be a quite easy way to make some standard plots. In fact, you can also save your own presets by working with workflows, and this will be the topic of a future video as well.